Good morning. Chris Lee of Southeastern 16, joined by Max Barr and Blake Lovell. It is time for the SEC ACC Challenge. 16 games between the leagues over the next 2 days. We've got 10 of them tonight. We'll be giving you a rundown on all that, taking your questions, whatever. Gentlemen, it feels like basketball weather. I don't know what happened, but we've got snow here in Nashville. We've got 25 degrees. It is miserable outside. Blake is dressed for the weather. Blake's always dressed like this, whether it's summer or winter.
Dude, come on, Chris. We have this conversation every time.
I know.
Chris,
I know.
let me ask you, do you have heat on right now where you're sitting? Are you sitting in the
No.
nice, cozy room of your heat? Is it just surrounding you in warmth as it's 25 degrees outside? I'll tell you who's not doing that. That's me, because I'm out here in the garage braving the elements. Snow everywhere. Snow's flying around me right now. 2 feet to my left, there's snow coming in. But that's okay, because you know what? I got something very exciting for you. If you want to get away from the snow, I got something a little bit later on that's going to help you get away from the snow.
Oh, nice.
Don't you worry. I got something
Nice.
real good for you. Robert here may know what I'm talking about, because Robert said he couldn't sleep last night thinking about an ad read today. I got an ad read for you coming up a little bit later. But first, we got to talk about the challenge. Folks, let me tell you up front, we're just talking about the Tuesday games. Make that perfectly clear. We're only talking about tonight's games. Tomorrow's games, there's some big ones. Auburn's got to head to Duke. Alabama's got to head to North Carolina. So we're going to do a separate video for each of those games, because those are high-profile, top 25 type games. But today, Kentucky, Clemson, Tennessee, Syracuse. We got some other big games. 10-game slate coming up.
Yeah, here's the slate. We will touch on some of these games more than others. The 6 o'clock games: Arkansas at Miami, Notre Dame at Georgia, Cal at Missouri, South Carolina at Boston College, and then Tennessee and Syracuse at 6:30. The 8 o'clock games: Wake Forest at Texas A&M, Ole Miss at Louisville, Georgia Tech at Oklahoma, Florida State at LSU, and then the 8:30 game: Kentucky at Clemson. Blake Lovell, start us off. Where are we going first here?
I'll tell you where we're going to go first. The SEC is favored in 9 of these 10 games.
Woo!
That's where we're going
yeah.
first,
Knew you were
which
gonna say
means it's not going to go well, perhaps. Anytime the setup is that one-sided. And some of these spreads, Max, I'm going to let you read off the spreads. I know you've got them here.
I want to make a guess. The one game in which they're not favored, I'm going to guess, is Ole Miss at Louisville.
Yeah, you cheated, I bet, but you're
that.
right.
Yep, you cheater.
I did not cheat, but
All right, Max,
anyway.
run down the actual spreads for each of these games, and we'll kind of dive into a couple things after. We're probably not gonna go 5 minutes in depth on every game, but we're gonna talk about some of the headliners here. But Max, read them off for us.
Okay, these were from a few hours ago, so and they're not going to be in order. But
Hold on,
Arkansas
Max.
is a 4.
Hold on. Where are these from?
Oh, I can tell you where they're from. They're from Bet Online.
Oh,
That's
really?
the world's most
Wow.
trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting.
Tremendous.
From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen, with the largest selection of odds on everything from football, NBA, college basketball, NHL to UFC and MMA. Head to BetOnline today to get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline, the game starts here. Max Barr, where are we starting?
Hold on. Before we get there, Nathan, longtime replay listener, first-time live listener, hearing a live ad read literally just gave him chills, folks. Not because it's 25 degrees outside, anywhere and everywhere, because the ad read is that impactful. Don't worry, folks. We're not done yet. We'll have another one coming up a little bit later. We've also got a voicemail, guys. I didn't tell you this. We got a voicemail
Nice.
submission yesterday, and don't worry, it wasn't from Sam Smith. Although now that I say that, Sam's probably going to leave a voicemail in the next 5 minutes, and we'll probably have to replay that a little bit later on. But we do have a voicemail coming at the end of the show. All right, back to Max.
The live ad read is like going to a game for the first time. You're like, you don't really know until you're there. All right, going down some lines. We have Arkansas is a 4.5 favorite on the road at Miami. Tennessee is favored by 19 at home against Syracuse. Texas A&M is favored by 9 against Wake at home. Ole Miss is a 3.5 point underdog on the road at Louisville. Georgia, 10-point favorite at home against Notre Dame. Oklahoma, 11.5-point favorite. That's up to 12 now, actually, with the injury news against Georgia Tech. Kentucky, 2-point favorite. I've seen it down at 1.5. I've seen it back at 2. It's been bouncing back and forth on the road at Clemson. And then there's LSU is a 3.5-point favorite, I believe, against Florida State. Missouri, 10-point favorite, 9-point favorite, depending on where you're at. And then South Carolina on the road at Boston College, 3-point favorite. That's what we got.
South Carolina's favorite at BC. Wow. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
BC's not looking good.
I'm going to make the executive decision here. I think the best game on the board is who we're going to start with, and that's Kentucky and Clemson. Not just because I push a Kentucky agenda here at Southeastern 16, but because I think that this is clearly the best game on the board. And you said it, Max, that that line is pretty interesting in terms of 2, 1.5, depending on where you look. And we said coming into the season, you think about what Clemson accomplished last year. What a run they made. Brad Brownell for probably, however many, the 10th straight year, everybody's talking about him being on the hot seat. And then he winds up getting them to the Elite Eight. They lose to Alabama. But off to a great start here. Only one blemish. That's a road game at Boise State. But, other than that, they've looked pretty good. And I think that, this is a team that shoots the ball pretty well, too, just like Kentucky. And they're an older team, just like Kentucky. They got some size, just like Kentucky. And so, you kind of see a pattern here to where I think, there are some similarities between these two teams. And I think matchup-wise, it's going to be very interesting because, you are talking about some guys who, again, are older, have played in meaningful games. And that was one of the things as we start to talk about this Kentucky team this year. It's not just the fact that they, are seemingly a well-oiled machine this early. The depth is clearly standing out. That they do have the older guys, as well that have played in these big games. But it's just, these are two, I think, teams that are certainly trending in the right direction right now. Kentucky may seem further along to some people, but this is a true road game. It's the first, I think, test like that for Kentucky this year, first true road game of the season, and it makes for an interesting matchup there against Clemson.
Yeah, going to be a battle of the tempos here. Battle of the tempos. Kentucky plays the 4th fastest overall tempo. When you split it into offensive and defense, they're 3rd fastest offensively. You watch them, they just fly. And Clemson, opposite end. They play overall the 287th. They're 362nd defensive. There's only 2 teams that play a slower tempo defensively than Clemson. So whoever can play their style here should be the more comfortable team. But I went digging, Blake and Chris. I went stat digging, and I found something a little concerning. I'm not going to lie. I saw this line. I'm like, 2 points, 1.5 points. Man, for the number 4 team in the nation, I'm like, I feel like that's a little tight. But then you look at the analytics sites, and those kind of back them up also. Do you guys know when the last time Clemson lost a home game in the non-conference?
It's been a while,
right? You've got to go back 5 years. Okay, Clemson is on a 21-0 run in the non-conference at home. They have won 21 straight non-conference home games. These guys don't lose before ACC play at home past 4 years. They start 6-10, 6-8, 6-11 at the 3-4-5. This is going to be a game. I'll tell you that much right now. I know a lot of people saw the Kentucky -2 and just, free money. I don't think it's so free.
Okay, I did some searching after that. I was like, okay, well, who have they played? Presbyterian, a bunch of times? No, the answer is no. They have logged some good wins. Beat South Carolina there last year. Also beat Boise State there last year. So it's not just a situation when they've loaded up on cupcakes.
I mean, it's
beat
4
Penn
straight
State
years.
A couple of years ago.
Yep.
Have they played anyone to Kentucky's level at home in the non-conference for a while?
No.
I would say no, but still, that does not take away the fact that yes, they are very good at home, as Max notes here. I mean, actually, I guess you could go back. They beat Maryland at home several years ago. But yeah, so I mean, it's a big test. But I think Max brought up the good point of stylistically, this should be interesting. Because think about it too. I feel like we talked about this last year with Clemson in the NCAA tournament. They were a team that played that same kind of style, right? And even it's more dramatic this year in terms of the numbers so far. But, in the tournament, they beat teams like a Baylor who completely slowed it down. But then they'd have to turn around and play an Arizona team who just went go, 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 go. And then they play Alabama who did the same thing. And, again, so they proved they could beat teams that play different styles. We always like to look at that and see if there's any sort of trends there. But no, not really with Clemson. Like they seem to be able to sort of be a chameleon here, and they can do whatever they need to do and play different styles if needed. But again, Kentucky is different in terms of how they are playing offensively because they are like we said, I mean, they are just so far along right now in terms of what they're doing offensively that it wouldn't matter where this game's played, it wouldn't matter, what the trends tell you about Clemson defensively being able to do this or that against different styles. Kentucky's a different beast right now, at least they have been so far.
I want to ask you guys something. Is the tempo a feature of the game or is it a concern for Kentucky? Here's what I mean. Lamont Butler and Kirk Reese have played a lot of ball. Those are your primary ball handlers. They got a lot of other experienced guys. This is a team that plays smart. It takes good shots. I'm not sure, and I'm asking because you guys may say, all right, this is why it's a concern. But I'm just looking and knowing Kentucky's roster and it just going, okay, how big of a problem is this really, or is it at all?
Well, I think it comes into play with the turnover battle. Clemson forced 17 against Penn State, forced 13 against San Fran, 12 against Boise. Kentucky's been a team that has not been an issue except for maybe one game. I think they had like 15 turnovers early on. But if Clemson can force some turnovers and slow Kentucky up, and Kentucky's starting to second guess offensively, then I think it comes into play. But I mean, who was the coach that made the comment on Kentucky's offense? I feel like you brought it up. There was a coach after a game.
Probably.
Yes, that's just said it was one of the, what is it, like the best offense he's ever seen in college or something like that. So I don't know. Even if you go through a little bit of a drought, I feel like this offense is so good that it'll get the wheels back going again.
Well, and the thing is, the difference this year versus, let's say, you're playing this game last year, you trust Kentucky exponentially more in the half court in terms of their offense. Last year, I would not have said that. So, even though they're playing at such a high tempo, if they have to slow this thing down and play Clemson's type game, I'm okay with Mark Pope drawing up some plays.
That's a great point.
Whereas the previous era, I don't know that I would be that confident in terms of them winning a game like this. So I think that's also the difference where they haven't had to play necessarily a team like Clemson so far in terms of the style. But I still tend to think that even if they get themselves in a game that is more 68-65, I still feel like Kentucky will get enough opportunities to at least win the game. I don't think it has to be a situation where Kentucky's up there playing games in the 90s or anything. I think, again, defensively they've been good too, and I think we've talked about that. So, it's a great matchup because, again, I think you have to respect what Clemson has done and kind of the trajectory of the program. It's a late night tip-off there. Max Barr is going to be staying up till midnight watching this game at the Little John Coliseum in Clemson, South Carolina. And, I think just with the experience and, talking about that group of guys that we've been, just the same guys we've been mentioning, like, Chase Hunter and go down the line. Like, these guys have been there. They played in meaningful games, and they're going to be ready because guess what? Kentucky, as always, has the target on their back, even more so now because of what they've achieved so far. When Kentucky comes to town, crowd's going to be booming, and especially when you got a top 5 Kentucky team coming in like the Cats are in this one.
Max, are you really going?
What? No, I'm not actually.
Okay. I wouldn't put it past you. So,
no, I'm not.
I was trying to say that because I was trying to see if anyone in the chat would send Max some tickets for this game tonight.
I would.
Tickets.
I'll get up right now.
Come on. I think somebody should send Max a pair of tickets. We should send him there live. He's going to live stream the game. Actually, I don't know if you can. I'm sure you can. Why not? So live reactions from Max Barr. So
Blake, I actually had a double take when I was looking at Clemson. Chase Hunter, this is Chase Hunter's 6th year, not his 5th year at Clemson. He is a 6-year Tiger. So yeah, they got some experience too. Are we ready for some picks?
This man has a doctorate in basketball. Let's make some picks. Here we go.
Blake, I was gonna, honestly, I'll be honest, full honesty, I was gonna go Clemson heading into this video, but Blake has steered me out of the clouds and into the light with your Mark Pope half court offense. I think I'm gonna go Kentucky, but I'm telling you right now, I really think Clemson's gonna give them all they can handle there.
I am not doubting Mark Pope until he gives me a reason. He has not given me a reason to give me Kentucky.
Smart.
Ooh.
Oh, you know what we just did.
Uh-oh. If you are tuning in for the first time this season, if you're a new fan, if you're a Kentucky fan jumping in and saying, you know what, I love listening to these guys talk about Mark Pope. I love listening to Chris Lee drool all over this Mark Pope guy. And you don't know about the Southeastern 16 kiss of death when it comes to our predictions. We like to call that the kiss of death because last year, many times, when we would all pick the same team to win, and it was a game like this where, you got a low point spread, those kind of situations, it would not go well for the team that we actually picked. So there's a lot riding on my shoulders here as the person who always picks third in these. However, this is a situation where, sometimes you got to go with your gut. You got to go with your gut, folks, because if you don't do that, what do you have, right? So I know the Kentucky fans are wanting me to pick against them because they want to. Even nobody down here, one of our frequent commenters here, nobody.
Yes.
Bad juju don't work on the Pope. He's right. Get that Southeastern kiss of death out of here, and you know what? I'm going to tell you where you can send it here in just a minute. But for now, the half-court offense of Mark Pope drawing up the magic on the board. Give me the Cats of Kentucky in this one at Clemson. I think this should be a great game. Would I be shocked if Kentucky loses? Of course not, because I think Clemson is a really good team. As Max said, they're on a 6,274-game winning streak at home in non-conference play. Nobody can beat the Tigers unless it's the Cats. When the Cats and Tigers get together, it's always a bit of a clawing match. But I'm picking Kentucky, just like Chris Lee said, until they give me a reason not to pick them. Well, of course, I did pick against them against Duke, and, we saw that work out. So, nonetheless, in this situation, I'll pick Kentucky to offensively overwhelm the Clemson Tigers in what should be the game of the night in the SEC ACC Challenge.
If you guys haven't watched Ian Shefflin, by the way, that's a bully ball guy right there. If you want some good entertainment, Ian Shefflin down low is gonna be fun to watch.
Interesting.
Next up, Blake, maybe Tennessee and Syracuse.
Sure, we can talk about that one. I can tell you all the reasons why Tennessee should win this game by 40. The Vols have just been dominant to this point. And Max, as the resident Syracuse expert here, you are. I just think this is trouble for the Orange on the other side here because, they have not exactly been great. I think the only thing I was looking at statistically in this game, there's two things. Tennessee has been great in terms of offensive rebounding, but Syracuse is actually the best in the country in terms of offensive rebounding percentage defense. Number one in KenPom, number one in your hearts. Also, Syracuse takes care of the ball pretty well, even though Tennessee forces turnovers. I'm trying to find anything here, but quite frankly, if you look at all the statistics, they tell you that Syracuse can absolutely not shoot the three, period. They are 334th nationally in three-point percentage, shooting 27%. And guess what? They have to get all their points from basically in the paint. Now, if you look on the other side, Tennessee can kind of, filter people into the paint to make them score because they are such a great three-point defense. But if you're telling me Syracuse has got to win this game scoring twos against a team like Tennessee, I don't see it happening. I think Tennessee should be dominant on both sides here. They've been so good offensively, better than we thought to this point. Defensively, they're still an absolute machine. So I just think this is a tough matchup for the visiting Orange here, Max.
Yeah, we're going to submit a request to formally change Syracuse to the Fighting Eddie Lampkins for this year, because that's exactly what they are. And he's going to be going up against Akpara all night, which is a recipe for disaster for the Fighting Eddie Lampkins. No, you nailed it on the head, Blake. They can't shoot. It's up to Chris Bell. If Chris Bell wants to have a good game from outside, that's their only chance. Other than that, it's just dump it down to Eddie Lampkin, or we hope J.J. Starling makes his pull-up mid-range. That's Syracuse. That's all they got.
I have not seen Syracuse play for more than a minute or two this year, if even that. But this is about the weirdest defensive profile I have ever seen. Number one in the country in protecting the glass on the defensive end. Number 146 in efficiency. I think the reason is, as I look at this, teams get off shots quickly and they make them often.
And the defensive rebounding it's just Donnie Freeman. That's all it is. It's just he just cleans up the defensive glass like crazy. But no, the reason there's a reason that this is a power conference game and the spread's 20. There's a reason the spread's 20. It's a nightmare matchup for Syracuse on the perimeter. If Chaz Lanier and Ziegler combine like 1 of 13 from 3 and this thing's just ugly, then yeah, I see Syracuse covering that. If it's just a game of mid-range, twos and free throws, then yeah, but there's no match on the perimeter for Syracuse.
Well, and keep in mind too, we brought it up before, but Evan Mia's top 5 man lineups in the country right now, still number 1, far and away. The adjusted efficiency margin for Tennessee, 91.2 for this 5-man lineup. Sky Ziegler, Felix Akpara, Igor Milicic, Shemai Mashak, Chaz Lanier. The next closest, 91.2 was the number. Remember that. 63.9, and that is the 5-man duo at Kansas. So
wow,
they have just been absolute. I mean, they have just. What do you say? Like, there are no words to describe the starting lineup for Tennessee right now. That's how good they've been. And so, yeah, like, if this game was in Syracuse, then maybe, you kind of bring that up. Like, all right, well, this, it's a road game, could be a little bit tougher than people expect. But statistically, what reason do we have to look at this as other than Max said, a 20-point spread for one team, just because Tennessee's been that dominant? Syracuse has played some close games. Give them credit. They had chances to win those games against Texas and Texas Tech. But they also beat Lemoyne by 4, Colgate by 2, Youngstown State in double overtime. So this one could get ugly if Tennessee is as good as they've been so far. And it probably will if that happens. So give me the Vols. Okay. There's a surprise pick.
Yeah. You said give me a reason, and this is a reach. But I think, look, if we just sit here and say, it's a 20-point line, Tennessee's going to kill them, what makes that interesting? Lampkin and Freeman don't foul a lot. So that's probably their bread and butter. There. I mean, look, it's a 20-point line.
I'm kidding, so, but think about that, right? But that's where we're having to go. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Max, who are you picking?
Wait, we even have to do a pick for this?
Yes, we do. Come on.
Tennessee.
Make your picks.
Tennessee. My gosh. I'll go with the orange team.
Can you imagine, Chris, are you going to pick Tennessee too?
Yeah, let me think about it. Tennessee.
All right. Can you imagine if Tennessee and Kentucky both lose, and then the Southeastern 16 kiss of death comes roaring back with a vengeance? You never know.
Watch out for Chris Bell. I'm telling you right now. I've seen Chris Bell make like 10 threes in a game before. He can get hot. That's their only chance, though. That's their only chance. So stop Chris Bell and you stop Syracuse.
Interesting. All right. Let's go, speed round for the next several games, because I think there's some interesting ones on the board. How about Louisville Ole Miss? Because that's the one where the SEC team is the underdog. Very unusual here. But, Max, thoughts on the Cardinals and the Rebels doing battle there? Of course, Ole Miss coming off the buzzer beater loss to Purdue after looking pretty good, beating BYU in overtime. Louisville coming off that loss to Oklahoma after getting 2 big wins against Indiana and West Virginia.
This is as tricky as it gets, because you have Louisville as a 3.5 point favorite, but I wouldn't say their best player, but he's been their highest usage player. Kashawn Pryor, the transfer, he's out for the season. And so you have your first game without Pryor, and they're still a favorite. So you want to, by 3.5. So you want to think, like, if Pryor was playing, would this thing be out at like 5.5? The thing I'm looking for Ole Miss is, can they consistently generate turnovers on the road? That's been really big for their defense. And Louisville, although they have not been making them, they shoot threes at just an insane rate. They're due for some positive. I don't think regression's the word. Whatever the opposite of regression is, they're due for that. So I don't know. I'm like, why is this line 3.5 without Pryor? It makes me think of this old theory I had called the injury game. Whenever a team would be playing at home and they'd be down a key guy, and everyone's just jumping on the other team. Oh, they don't have this guy. It's going to be the difference. Someone else always steps up and the crowd gets going. And I think that's why this line's at 3.5. What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, it's the center. I don't think that Ole Miss has played away in tough environments a lot the last couple of years outside the league. Ole Miss is not an inside-oriented team. They got a lot of guards. They got a lot of old guards, but Louisville can match up with that on its own. So I think those are some of your reasons.
Like,
yeah, it's a tough one. I think this will be one of the best games of the night, I would think.
Yeah.
I'll go straight into picks. This one's tricky, I think, for Ole Miss because, again, it's a true road game. Louisville feels like they got their mojo back a little bit, and it's kind of that clash of Louisville defensively is going to get after you and force turnovers. Ole Miss has been the best in the country at not turning it over. If that flips just a little bit, is that what gives Louisville the edge here? I wonder if that's the case. So I'm gonna pick Louisville in this game. I think it's a tough road game for Ole Miss, especially is it a hangover effect? I don't know, but losing that Purdue game. Think about the way we're talking about Ole Miss right now. If they had won that game, but they only lost at the buzzer, and that's why. I think we still got to give Ole Miss some props, but I think this is a tough game on the road. I'll pick Louisville here in this one.
My turn.
Sure.
I'll go Louisville, just home. Yeah, I mean they're going to be pretty tough in that building. I think Pat Kelsey's got some energy there. I think the fans will be up for it. Ole Miss I watch, and I guess it's the defense that they didn't really engage on that end very well a year ago. I feel like I need to see a little bit more of that before I can go take them to win on the road in a place like that.
Ole Miss, we're helping you out. I'm going to go Louisville too.
Yes.
So, hey, there we go. There's one in the books. There's one in the books, guys. We did it.
Great work.
Yeah, I'm going to go Louisville at home. 4-point favorite without Pryor. A little fishy. I'll jump on it.
Okay, if it goes the other way, how does that look?
Like the opposite of what Blake said. Ole Miss takes care of the ball perfectly on the road, just efficient offense, and Louisville continues to jack threes and not make them because that's what they've been doing so far.
All right. Before we get into doing some quick picks on some of the other games before we wrap up.
Here it comes.
Max, I'd like to ask you a question. Okay. Are you ready for this? Folks in the chat, really pay attention here because it's an important question. I want you guys to weigh in the chat. All right. Max, what are you asking for Christmas this year?
Clothes.
Interesting. Chris, what about you? What are you asking for?
My daughter asked me this yesterday. I didn't have an answer, but it's probably clothes.
Well, see, if your daughter had asked you yesterday and you didn't have an answer, I wish you would have called me. You know why? Because I could have given you a tremendous answer to come up with. Because you know what I'm asking for this year? It's not a gift. Well, actually, I guess technically it could be a gift. I don't want clothes. Don't get me, a basketball. Don't get me a football, a video game, a movie, anything like that. You know what I want, folks?
Oh, I know.
I want a truck. Give me a truck. You know why? Because there's a lot of trucks out there. They cost Max. It's a lot of money these days. You might have a truck cost $50,000 out there, $25,000. Come on, get out of here. I don't need that. You know what I need? I need the cheapest and most efficient truck around. I need the one that's got the best deal out there. I need one from Sanders Logistics, folks.
There, yes.
Because they can
that
get
up
me
again.
moving around anywhere I need to go. Formerly, Ted R. Sanders Moving, the leader among moving companies in Nashville, Tennessee, and the surrounding area. Don't forget that. The surrounding area as well.
Yep.
Professional movers focused on delivering efficient, hassle-free moving at an affordable price. That's why I want a truck. Am I moving right now? No. Could I decide to move tomorrow? Maybe. So that's why I need Sanders Logistics, to get me around wherever I need to go. So if you're moving across town, across the country, Sanders Logistics, they got you covered, everybody. That's what you should be asking for Christmas. Go tell your significant other, honey, I'd like to move. And if they say, let's do it, then you know what? Sanders Logistics. That's all you need. Give them a call. Visit them at Ted R. Sanders. We'll put the link for you guys. My goodness. Go find these fine piece of... They're just incredible people at Sanders Logistics. So,
I don't know what just happened.
I can't follow.
Where
that.
were you?
This is how we make money at Southeastern
That was
16.
incredible.
Folks, if you want more ad reads, go find sponsors for us. We'll read one every 5 minutes if you want. We don't even talk basketball anymore. We'll just do an entire show of ad reads.
If you want
Okay.
Max Barr to move to Nashville, support Sanders Logistics.
Listen, Robert, are you really questioning? Are they actually paying us? Yes, they are. Surprisingly, I know it's shocking, but they are. They are actually going to pay us to read these ads. So we're going to give them their money's worth, baby. And if you want your money's worth, go to Sanders Logistics.
All right. What do we got left?
We're going to
Where
move
do you wanna
on to
go?
the rest of these games here. We're going to quickly go through Oklahoma, Georgia Tech. Max, quick thoughts.
Double revenge game, but we only get one revenge. No McCollum, no Kawasi Reeves for Georgia Tech. They are super shorthanded. Pop quiz, who's the other revenge game? Javian McCollum, obviously, on Oklahoma, transfers to Georgia Tech. There's another revenge.
Oh,
Quick pop. No one knows it. It's Jalen Moore. Jalen Moore spent 2 years at Georgia Tech before transferring to Oklahoma. So got a little bit of roster, maybe a little rivalry in there. But no, Georgia Tech hasn't beaten a top 300 opponent. But Georgia did have a 39-36 lead over Georgia in the second half. So they can muck it up, but I'm 12-point spread. I'm not very worried.
yeah. I watched some of that Georgia Tech game, and I feel like Georgia was in control most of the time.
Sorry, we're laughing. For those of you on audio, Mother Carol has put in the comment here that she's ready to move back to Florida today with these frigid temperatures. She knows who to call now.
Max, how cold is it in Charlotte?
It was like 45, 50 yesterday, but it was sunny out. So the sun kind of made it warm. It's sunny out today. There's no snow. You have snow in Nashville?
Yeah, let me tell you what's coming your way. 25 degrees and damp.
Max, would you like to know how to get away from the 25 degrees and damp?
I think we covered
Give me the
that.
Sooners against Georgia Tech. I'm picking the
Yeah.
Sooners. Chris,
Sooners.
any swap on that one?
No, I mean, Oklahoma looks so good. In what, the Bahamas? Is that where they were? I can't keep up.
Atlantis.
Atlantis, yes.
All right. Let's do this one. South Carolina at Boston College.
You start.
Always a great start for any game. Yeah, I was a little surprised maybe that South Carolina was favored here until you actually look at things and realize that I just don't think Boston College is that great. They just come off a home loss to Dartmouth, ranked 333rd in Mr. KenPom's analytics. So that's not ideal for Boston College in that game. And so, I mean, they're better than that. Like, they did beat Boise State, which we talked about. Boise State beat Clemson. Boston College does have a win over Boise State. I just think this is one where, man, there is a lot of me that really, really, really wants to pick South Carolina here. But maybe I will do what worked last year for Father. Maybe that's what Father Mont Paris needs. They need the mojo back with us picking against them. I don't like this game for South Carolina. I just think I think they're better than Boston College. It's a road game, and the ACC has to pick up some wins somewhere. And I just can't find a lot of spots right now for them to do that. So I'll say by the math and the probability, they maybe find a way to get this one. So Give me the Eagles in Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts.
Yeah, Boston College, obviously, as you said, not living up to the ACC level so far, but out of their analytics, their top defensive category, out of every single category, is their block rate. And if there's one thing, there's literally one thing you don't want against South Carolina, it's rim protection, because it makes life difficult for Murray Boyles. So I think that is the entire matchup. They got Chad Venning. He's 270 pounds, monster. I think he's going to give Murray Boyles some trouble, make stuff difficult around the rim. Even if he's not blocking it, he's going to alter it. And that's a recipe for disaster against South Carolina. I'm going BC here. I think they bounce back after the brutal loss.
Earl Grant's got a really tough job. They got that roster rated. Maybe their best 2 players or 2 of their best 3 from last year now in the SEC. Gosh, I don't know. I'll go the other way. I'll take South Carolina. I feel like that team's due to play a little bit better, and that's not exactly going to be an intimidating place. Although, let's see, what are they? Oh, that's last year. Never mind. They're 127 in Ken Palm, 71 last year. Yeah, I mean, this feels like a game Colin Murray Boyles could carry them, so I'll go there.
He's got to. Yeah.
Missouri and Cal, the Dennis Gates revenge game here on the school that he played at. Thoughts, Max?
You got any feel for this one? Oh, I don't have a good feel for this one. That's why I was going to throw it to you.
Yeah,
I really don't know on this one.
I think Missouri, again, what we said, and look, we bring up the net rankings and we have our fun with them at times, but I mean, look, Missouri just hasn't beaten anyone of note yet. And, I mean, we have to call it what it is. They played well for a half or so against Memphis, but, everybody else, they've beaten like they should have. And,
yeah,
I mean, now this is kind of a game against the Cal team that is kind of in a similar situation. I mean, they lost that game at Vanderbilt we talked about a couple weeks ago. They won at USC. The Muss Bus, not exactly off to maybe the start they would have wanted at 5-3. So I don't know. I think Missouri should win this game. I mean, they're favored by what? I was surprised how big the number was on this.
It's around 10.
Around
check
10.
What it is right now.
Yeah. I mean, that's so Vegas is trying to tell us something there. But
it's 9 right now.
9, so it's coming down a little bit. I mean, I'm going to pick Missouri in this one. I don't have a great feel in this game because of both these teams. I don't think have played the best schedules to this point. But this is kind of a statement game for Missouri because I think if they can come out and play well here, they should win this game. And if they don't, then I think the concerns set in a little bit as they head into a Sunday matchup against Kansas. So,
yeah, when Vanderbilt played Cal, Hogard and Huffman combined for 12 assists, 1 turnover. Cal's defense they don't really pressure you that much, but they do get to the free throw line a ton. So keep an eye on the free throw battle. It could just turn into whoever gets the whistle in this one, to be honest, because I don't trust either half-court offense right now, and they both get to the free throw line oh my gosh, yeah. Missouri's second in the nation in free throw rate. Cal's like 16.
Oh, yeah. 2.5-hour game coming tonight in Columbia.
Oh, good Lord. Yeah. I'll pick Missouri, but ooh.
I've seen Cal play in person this year, and they caught maybe Vanderbilt on one of its best nights. So maybe I don't like to go just on one game, but the guys that you got to be concerned about are Page's kid and Javon Blacksher, who were pretty good when they were here. But they've got inside, they've got Omot, they've got Lee Dort. I just think if you go strength of teams, guards for guards, Missouri's got a really deep backcourt. I'll go there. I would be surprised if Cal won that game based on what I've seen out of both teams.
I think it'll be a good game, though.
I think it'll be a decent game, yeah. Mama Bear asking for a question of Missouri. I would never do such a thing. But you might hear more questions going into that Kansas game on Sunday. But, yeah, that's kind of where we are. By the way, for anyone who's joining in late here, Aaron just told us, do not curse the cats. Well, Aaron, this is one of those things where we go, the narrator says and they did. Perhaps if you go back and
The
listen to our
triple
picks,
cat curse.
the curse may be coming in for the Cats. And don't worry, Kentucky fans, if they lose this game tonight, all three of us will never pick Kentucky again in the same game the rest of the season. We give you our word on that. All right, let's go to. We've only got a couple games left. We're going to try to fly through these here quickly. We're going to finish with, I think, a very interesting one, but we're not there yet. All right, Georgia Notre Dame. Max, a big game coming up here for the right to win the college football national championship. Georgia and Notre Dame. Your thoughts?
I think this is a good matchup for Georgia. Do not underestimate Micah Shrewsbury, but there's no Marcus Burton, and that is, I think that's just Shrewsbury someone's underestimating Micah Shrewsbury.
Does Oreo have a pick for this game?
Listen to this man. Look what you've done to him.
Can I tell you, Oreo is like, he does this perfectly. Every time we talk about the dogs, Oreo has to chime in. He has to give his thoughts. He knows. So he's picking the dogs. So, in that one. Chris, your thoughts?
I'm sorry. I'm trying to get my hearing back. Gosh, I really like. I don't know much about Notre Dame. I know Micah Shrewsbury can really coach. I've got a lot of trust in Georgia right now. Love the way their guards are playing. We talked about Missouri's guards being deep. Georgia's aren't, I don't think, quite as good, but they're pretty good. And they got Asa Newell, which a lot of teams don't have. I think the way they played last week away from home was another encouraging sign. So I'm going Georgia.
Notre Dame has had a run of games where they just lose close game after close game, seemingly a couple of those that have just been right there with a shot. I think this game could be uncomfortably close for Georgia fans to where it's just kind of one where you kind of have to pull it out. But I'll tell you, just as Robert says here, Robert's prediction is that Mike White is going to hire Sanders Logistics to move Notre Dame out of Athens. I'm not going to call him what you call them, Robert, but that's his prediction. So on that. So there you go. I think we're all going Georgia there on this one. All right. LSU, Florida State. Kind of a, sneaky type game here. LSU trying to keep the momentum going after a pretty decent start this season outside the loss to Pitt. Meanwhile, Leonard Hamilton has his team at 7-1. Their only loss is to Florida. But, their schedule hasn't been the toughest either. I expect another close game here, Max, in this one. This is one where I almost think, again, I'm looking for wins for the ACC. I think this is one that they have a shot. But, Leonard Hamilton always has teams that have size. Like, we know that. Like, this guy he always finds the 7 foot, 6'11" guys, 7'7" guys everywhere. But I don't know. I still think LSU has looked better to this point in the season. So I'm trying to find wins for the ACC here, not to sound like a homer, but it's at home for the Tigers. I'd probably pick Florida State if this was in Tallahassee, but I'm going to pick LSU at home.
Yeah, I am going to go Florida State here. I'm feeling the upset. Florida State, they obviously dropped the one to Florida, and they haven't had another chance to get back. And this is a big one. I think they know it. They play NC State next, but obviously that's a conference game. This is their last opportunity in the non-conference to pick up a win. They're very good defensively. They let nothing around the rim. Offensively, not so much. It's probably going to be an ugly game offensively, but I think they have the height, they have the rim protection to make this thing ugly, and that's what you need on the road here. I'm going to go Florida State.
Ken Palm's got it as a toss-up on a neutral floor, basically. I'll go LSU because of the PMAC. Same with Blake. If it was at Florida State, I'd probably go there, but
okay.
Should be a good game.
Yeah, they're not the highest profile games, but these could be good games, like quite a few of these. And that's why it worries me a little bit that the SEC is favored in all but one of these, because I'm like, just think the law of averages probably tell you that,
I was just going to say, so far the SEC's been winning these games, like the lower conference games where it's a close spread and it's kind of a coin flip. SEC's been winning them.
Well, I did the math on it. Through Friday's games, and the SEC already, I think, had 16 wins over Ken Palm top 50 teams. I don't know if anybody fell out or came in or the league picked up any more since then. I got a little tied up with football Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. But I think what did I say? I sent you guys. The Big 12 had 10 of them, and the Big 10 had 9. So my point would be the SEC's been doing a great job at winning these tough games, and a lot of them have come away from home.
Yeah. What do we got left?
Okay, we've only got 2 left. We're going to start with Texas A&M, Wake Forest. Max, your thoughts on the Aggies at home, which, the Aggies at home means you're guaranteeing at least 30 free throws. Yep. So I think that works out well for Texas A&M here. Chris was asking before we started recording what happened to Wake Forest. I said I don't think Wake Forest is that bad. I mean, they've lost to Florida, they've lost to Xavier, they have a win over Michigan. They've not played to the level that you would expect just yet. And one of the reasons why is they just, offensively have left a lot to be desired. They're a pretty poor shooting team. That's probably putting it nicely, 26.3% from 3. But, overall still, they're a Steve Forbes coach team. They're going to get after you defensively. And I think that could maybe be a little bit concerning for Texas A&M here. But overall, it does still feel like A&M's the best team and in this matchup. And I think it's the same 2 things with Texas A&M every game. It does not matter who they play. I'll say the same 2 things. It is they're going to throw the ball off the backboard and get the rebound, most likely, and they're going to shoot free throws. And so if they can do those 2 things, Texas A&M has a chance to beat anybody. So I'm picking the Aggies at home in this one.
Yeah. Guess what Wake Forest ranks in 3-point percentage?
It's bad.
344th. 344th. That's perfect for A&M. Rare game here where I really like the matchup. Wake Forest can't shoot. And so they're going to have to get stuff inside. They don't have good rebounding numbers. I think this matchup really favors A&M. And when you ask, what happened to Wake Forest, they lost probably their 2, I wouldn't say best, because I think Hunter Salas, probably the most talented, but Boopy Miller was their lead assist guy. He initiated the offense. He was their PG1. And then Andrew Carr was their matchup nightmare at the 4. So they lose both of those guys. And that changes things. Obviously, Spillers from App State is really good at the 4 right now. But, yeah, I like this matchup a lot. Wake Forest can't shoot, and that's perfect for A&M.
Yeah, I feel like Wake's going to shoot better. I feel like with Salas and those guys, there's enough talent there that's going to turn around. Steve Forbes is a really good coach, but A&M is just so old and played pretty well in that building. I think that's another one where, to me, it's not a lot of a decision given venue.
And then there was one.
Oh,
what
yeah.
Is it? What's this last
one?
one?
How do we wait this long to get to this one?
Because, Chris, we like to build up the suspense here at Southeastern 16. So, Arkansas hits the road to play Miami. As we've discussed in recent days, Miami has lost 4 in a row. Drake, Oklahoma State, VCU, and Charleston Southern at home. Jim Larinaga's team has not exactly met expectations. They've been tremendous offensively. They're one of the worst power conference teams out there defensively in terms of the numbers. And here comes the Hogs to town. South Beach welcoming in John Calipari and the Hogs here, who have been great defensively, but have also left a little bit to be desired offensively. So you kind of flip it here in terms of the sides of the ball on this one. Max, the spread on this one is what right now?
It was 4.5 when I took it down, but I'll look right now. It is out to 5.
It's a dangerous game because this is like the ultimate. Miami is in pure desperation mode right now. They've lost 4 in a row, as we said. Arkansas is 5-2, but the way some people, and maybe even including us sometimes, talk about them like they're 2-5. And so it's a road game, though. Like, it is against a team that, quite frankly, Miami should not be 3-4. They're more talented than that. They've got, as usual, a very old team. These are guys that have played a lot of basketball. And so I said earlier, I thought Georgia Notre Dame could be uncomfortably close for Georgia fans. I think this game could be uncomfortably close for Arkansas fans. Arkansas is simply the better team. They should be, but it's just, is the consistency going to be there against this Miami team that is just really struggling? This is where you want to see. Offensively, this needs to be an Arkansas explosion here. Like, they need to have a great game, make sure the ball gets where it needs to go. Theo.
I know.
Theo could have a huge game here, but they need, this needs to be a John L. Davis game. This needs to be a Boogie Flan game. Like, they need their guards to play really well here. So I'm picking Arkansas, but I don't know why. This game it terrifies me on paper, just based on where Miami's at.
All right, you guys, and I did go scrambling to the interwebs to look up something, and maybe I missed it. Nigel Pack's not playing.
It's questionable.
Questionable. Okay, he's questionable according to what I'm seeing. 2 days ago, Sports Illustrated reporting he's out against Charleston and expected to miss weeks. So
Okay. Wow.
that
Larinaga said yesterday that he's questionable, but I think that's just a little,
So if the number, and by the way, if the number's moving also like that, that's going to play a factor because, I mean, this guy's, I mean, he's been in college for a while. So, yeah.
I think Larinaga calling him questionable is just a little
ploy.
Prepare for him and
The other thing, Jalil Bethea, who was third team preseason All SEC or All ACC by Lindy's, has not played more than 18 minutes in a game yet. So I don't know what's going on there. Obviously not played that well, but it just feels like big discrepancy between what everybody thought this team would be and what it is. How do you lose to Charleston Southern at home? I mean, that's crazy.
Even with no Nigel Pack, Charleston Southern hadn't beaten a D1 team. That was their first D1 win. They hadn't beaten a D1 team. And
it's not like this team. I mean, they're 17 in Ken Palm experience, so they're old. I mean, that just to me says something's really wrong with chemistry. I don't know what else to take away from that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Arkansas here because they have to win this game. They need to win this game. If you don't win this game, we're gonna have some conversations. I'm going Arkansas. No Nigel Pack as it looks. Arkansas should have an easy day offensively. They should. Should, the big word.
Got questions about the Hogs. I got more about Miami. Give me Arkansas.
That's a good point, yeah.
All right. There you go. There are the Tuesday games. Before we wrap up, we always like to keep this under an hour, so we got to get to a voicemail, folks.
Oh,
because
boy.
You can go to memo.fm. I'm going to put this in the chat for you guys right now before we do. And that way, if you want to leave a voicemail for the next show, you can do that. If you want to call in tonight, leave a voicemail as your team is winning or losing. Well, if they're losing, it could be an interesting voicemail. But say whatever you want. We'll play it on the air. Doesn't matter what you say, we will play it on the air. I'm just kidding, folks. We can't play anything. But all right, let's see. We had to hear from Sam, who I know is in the comments watching now. Let's see what the other Sam. We're going from Smith to Thomas here, okay? Sam Thomas is who we're getting there. Yeah.
Chris, Blake, Max.
That's us.
Hey, Sam Thomas here, not Sam Smith.
No.
Big Mizzou Tiger fan. Just wondering, what do you guys think of Mizzou's chances this year to get into the NCAA tournament? Seems like we won't be getting any respect anytime soon until we prove it in conference play. Thanks, and catch you on the next one.
All right. So, I mean,
Tigers.
If we look at the net rankings, right? We brought that up, by the way, quickly from Gabe.
It's
Can't
gonna
imagine
eventually.
an open
It will.
voicemail going wrong. Trust me, this will be the worst idea we've ever had. But, so I think Missouri, certainly still has work to do. Like we said, they don't have any wins of note yet. And quite frankly, even if they beat Cal tonight, that's not really a win of note. If they beat Kansas,
Sunday.
then we're talking. Right, yeah, then we're talking. They beat Kansas, they beat Illinois, then you're starting to build a resume. So far, they don't have a resume. So they're not in the NCAA tournament conversation yet because they just haven't beaten anybody that warrants putting them there at this moment. But that can change. And so, look, they start SEC play at Auburn. So, it's going to be about compiling good wins. And really that's what it comes down to when you're talking about a team getting into the NCAA tournament conversation. So,
tell you what, right now, Missouri better not be looking ahead to Sunday thinking we can change our entire past 2 years' reputation with a win over Kansas, and they're looking over Stojakovic and Cal. I don't want that. Take care one game at a time, Tigers, one game at a time.
How concerned are we with Caleb Grill? He's out for this one.
I believe he's out, yeah.
Hopefully it's not long, but I mean, and again, I brought this up last show. People kind of laughed at the notion of the team falling apart with no Grill and Tanjay, and look at what Tanjay's doing at Wisconsin this year and what Grill's done in spots. No, I think this team has got a better supporting cast. Those him aside this year than it did last year. I mean, they're old at guard guys, with Bates and all those guys, and they're pretty deep there too. So I think that, look, you look like an idiot if you pick a team that went winless in the league last year, like to go to the tournament, and then they don't go. So I get why everybody's going to be kind of sleeping on Missouri. But if you forget last year, look at the parts, I think it's a good team. It's just like Blake said, they haven't played anybody yet to really test that, other than Memphis, which they lost.
The great and wonderful Drew King reported, he tweeted this yesterday around noon. He said that Dennis Gates said that Caleb Grill called him at 2 a.m. jogging, saying, "I'm ready to go, coach." So I don't know. Not back this game, might be back next. Looks like he's all right.
As Gabe says, Grills just want to have fun. Caleb Grill will be back. He'll be back on the court for the Tigers of Missouri. But there you go. Our thoughts on the Tuesday games in the SEC ACC Challenge. Folks, we got 2 videos coming up for you later on today. Auburn and Duke preview and predictions. Alabama and North Carolina preview and predictions. We'll have those 2 games in single videos. You can watch them here on the channel. Before we hop out of here, we got 2.5 minutes. Make this pitch very quick. The It Just Means More tier. Hit that join button. We told you. We're doing some watch along soon with some of these big games. Might even do one this week. It's currently scheduled. Will it happen? We don't know. But we got it on the schedule. We're going to try our best. We will do, I promise you, 2 within the next 2 weeks. I can guarantee you that. So you can come watch a game with us. That's kind of what we're going to do for our members only. So join the It Just Means More tier. $3.99 a month. If you think Sanders Logistics is a great deal, if you think BetOnline has the best odds out there, you're not going to find a better deal on earth than the It Just Means More tier at Southeastern 16 if you're an SEC sports fan. So there you go.
All right.
Game of most intrigue tonight. Doesn't have to be the biggest game, but just game you're most interested in for whatever reason.
Oh, it's got to be the Cats. Got to be.
Kentucky, Clemson. Next
Gotta
question.
be.
I'm going to go Ole Miss Louisville. I just want to see how good Ole Miss is, honestly. I think we kind of know how good Kentucky is. Like, Kentucky go to lose at Clemson by, a couple of points. I don't think that changes our opinion on Kentucky. If Ole Miss goes and wins at Louisville, does that change our opinion on Ole Miss a little bit? I think it probably would.
I don't know if it would change my opinion that much because, I mean, they literally just lost to Purdue at the buzzer. So, I think I'm already there with Ole Miss.
Yeah, okay,
I mean, I think
that's
they're legit. But yeah, you heard it here first.
I want to see a little bigger track record with them.
I get it.
I think that's it. So
basically, what we just got out of that was Chris picking Louisville over Kentucky. I mean, that's really what it came down to.
Oh, there we go.
Yep.
That's what I heard, Max. Yeah, Max agrees. So, anyways. All right,
let's get this thing under an hour.
Yeah, I'm going to
here we go.
Get out of here before Blake messes me over anymore.
Well, Chris, if you want to find somewhere to go, you can call Sanders Logistics. Move your way out of here. There you go.
Or you can call our voicemail line, and that's in the chat. Anyway, seriously, thank you all for watching and listening. We'll be here tomorrow to recap. We got previews coming. We got football stuff coming. Playoff stuff's coming out tonight. We'll react to that probably tomorrow morning. God bless you all. Have a great day. For Max Barr, for Blake Lovell, I'm Chris Lee. You've been watching Southeastern 16 presented by Bet Online.